DW Africa Link.
Church and politics. What's the relationship between the two institutions? It's a very old debate that has recently intensified in Kenya after President William Ruto recently made massive cash donations to two churches, each receiving 20 million Kenyan shillings. That's more than $300,000 combined, in case you were wondering. He's also promised hundreds of millions of Kenyan shillings to other churches. This has sparked outrage and ignited a nationwide debate on the blurred lines between church and politics. So, what has been the response in Kenya, and what do some religious leaders make of this? That is what's coming up. I am Eddie Micah Jr., and you are welcome to Africa Link, the podcast connecting you to the stories that matter.
Africa Link, every weekday here on DW.
Kenya's President Ruto has been splashing cash in churches. He says these donations can address the country's moral decay. But considering that his government has introduced several taxes aimed at paying off the nation's debt, some citizens find it ironical how a nation can afford such donations and still be broke. Let's unpack this with Pastor Dan Kaburu from Life Mission Christian Church in Nairobi, Kenya. We also have our very own Andrew Wasike, who has been following public reactions closely. I'm sure he has a lot to share with us. But let me start with you, Pastor Kaburu. Just to be clear, your church, Life Mission Christian Church, is not receiving any donations from President Ruto, is it?
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, my church has not, and it's not intending to take any donations from the government as it is. So I can confirm that we've not had such in our church.
So if President Ruto says, okay, I'm also going to give you 20 million Kenyan shillings, you'd say no to that money?
How things are at the moment, it's no longer now like giving from goodwill. There's a hook into the giving from how the things are looking. So, and the hook is a political hook, so to speak. But from what I know, our church policy, and of course, our bishop is a very strict person when it comes to such issues. From me, I can comfortably say we would definitely say no.
Okay. And if there's no hook to the 20 million?
Definitely when it comes to giving is a whole subject which requires to be taught. Normally the church teaches about giving. It's not a current issue. It has been there since time immemorial concerning giving. For the Bible readers, Jesus spoke about giving. So if you're coming to give, you don't need to take a microphone and announce your giving. Normally, giving, as taught in the Bible, is a silent way of doing it. No one, actually, the Bible says your right hand should not know what the left one is doing. And in that case, giving should not be announced or pronounced. If he comes to the church and gives an offering like another congregant, I think there's no problem with that. But the issue now of maybe stepping forward, taking the microphone and saying, oh, I'm giving this amount of money because of 1, 2, 3, then now it ceases to be a giving and becomes something different altogether. That's how it is.
Okay. I mean, basically all I'm getting from you is that if President Ruto somehow visited your church and, decided to give, without taking the microphone, decided to give your church 20 million Kenyan shillings, then that is money you would take. You would only not take it if he mentioned it beforehand that he's going to give it to the whole world. He said, I'm going to give to the church. Is that the difference here? Just to be clear.
Not really. To be clear, this is what I mean. When you go to church, there is a time for giving, whereby we have maybe a basket for giving, and someone puts money maybe in an envelope or whatever format they're doing, and they give their offering into the offering basket. Now, in this case, no one knows exactly who even gave the money. When President Ruto, for example, comes in the church and he's with other people and he decides to give, and other people with him gives, because the money will not be like, this money is from so-and-so, this other money is from so-and-so. That is what I'm talking about now, giving silently without having to make noise about it. So if he comes to church and there's an offering basket, he decides to drop whatever amount he wants to drop, then you cannot go and separate and say this was given by president, so let's return it back to him. The difference now when it comes to giving silently, for example, I'm sure, I don't know whether you go to church or Andrew goes to church. Okay, Andrew, I know him, he doesn't like going to church. But assuming Andrew went to church on Sunday and he decided to give maybe $10,000 without even no one noticing what Andrew gave. I know he's not a prominent guy like the president is, but if you drop the money into an offering basket, the president drops it there, the other people in the church drops the money there, no one can really say this was given by so-and-so. Unlike now, in a situation whereby after he gives and he stands and announces what he has given out, or he intends to give, like Itewa with the 100 million promise, then
Right.
that's a whole different issue. So that's where we draw the line.
Okay, well, that's your point of view. Well noted. Andrew, let me come to you. I mean, we've already figured out that you don't really go to church, according to the pipeline. Pastors don't lie. But
Yes.
you've been monitoring reactions on the ground. No doubt this has created even, protests here and there. Just give us a general sense of how people have reacted to President Ruto's recent church donations.
Thank you very much, Eddie. And my goal is to maybe join Pastor Kaburu's church. So on the streets of Nairobi, Kenyans have reacted very sharply to Ruto's church donations. There has been debates on social media about this same topic. The whole country is talking about this. So some see his contributions as acts of faith and generosity, while others who are sort of the majority, they are questioning the source of the funds. That's where the problem is coming from. They are questioning, is it his own money that he has saved? Or like the pastor said, anyone can give out donations. Okay, it's my money. But when politicians start giving money that is taxpayers' money that does not belong to them, and then it raises a lot of questions. So people are wondering whether he is being a generous president or whether the money is being used to consolidate political influence. So
Right. So what do we know about where the money is coming from?
Yeah, the way I have seen the debates, I've seen experts speaking about this. They are saying this is taxpayers' money because he has got a piggy bank that now he has just broken, and he's using taxpayers' money to get on the right side of the church. And this is what is bringing a lot of conversation.
Right, because there's the issue of accountability, right? Is it just the norm that a president can just, dip his hands into the public coffers and take out money and decide, hey, I want to give this to the church? That's the issue, isn't it?
That is the issue, Like you said, accountability is what everyone is talking about. They want to know the source of the funds, of course, which we already know. And they want to know, we are giving this money to Pastor Dan Kaburu. Pastor Dan Kaburu can take the whole 20 million tomorrow and go and buy the best car in the market, So this is taxpayers' money. You are giving it to a church, and he himself, he is on record saying that politicians will stop giving, correct me if I'm wrong, Pastor Kaburu, politicians will stop giving money to churches and mosques and all that because they are trying to get followers by doing such actions.
Right. So, Pastor Kaburu, let me come to you, because you've talked about the differences in how, donations can be good or bad based on the way it's done. Is that to say you view these current contributions not as genuine support for religious institutions, but more as an act that could politicize the church? Is that your position on the current situation?
Actually, taking from your last words, an act of politicizing the church. That is how I look at it from my seat, because genuine contribution is whereby you come and you find maybe there is a need and you decide to come into and support or give your contribution to it. But again, now with the current status of things in the country, what's happening in our nation, we have issues to do with accountability. Now, every person out there, their eyes are looking at what the president is doing or any other politician is doing with regards to public resources. Now, when we have a scenario whereby we have a need that needs to be met, and at the same time, you stand and you say, I'm giving 1, 2, 3, 4 amount of money, you miss out. You look at the people now, they feel like you're misusing the money. There's no accountability. People are dying for lack of medical services like it were, because that was the main issue with the Kenyans. So it misses out the point of now being generous or coming into support or supporting the work of the ministry and the work of God. So I think from where I sit, the context can be lost in between where you are trying to do what you're doing. Maybe from your heart, you feel you're doing the right thing, but again, you need to read the mood of the nation, read the mood of the entire conversation around you and say, if I have to do it, then I can do it silently. No one stops you from giving, but you can do it without the eyes of everyone looking at you.
Yeah, and also, if the allegations are correct that it is taxpayers' money, then the accountability part comes in. Are taxpayers okay with you dipping your hand in to just give to any church of your choice? These are some of the issues, also as Andrew alludes to, that people are talking about. But Pastor, still with you, talking about, we can't see anyone's heart, right? What really are they thinking? Is it the heart of God that, they feel touched to give? I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, but President Ruto says that he wants to get Kenyans closer to God through these donations that he's been making. How does donating millions to a church get people closer to God?
Honestly, we don't bring people closer to God because of our giving and our all manner of things. Is you want to get people closer to God, you preach the gospel as it were, and you preach righteousness as supposed to be. But now giving from where we sit and as a country, and of course, as much as I'm a pastor, of course, I'm a Kenyan and affected by whatever is happening around us. And again, it's the responsibility of the church also again to correct the government when they feel it's wrong. So in this case, the president is missing out the point, and he should actually call himself to a meeting and ask himself, why are people angry with whatever things I am doing? So, and that calls for a person who has to go back and even look into himself deeply. But from what you know, the president is a man who has been in charge for the longest time. That's okay. But again, now he's now a national leader. He's a government, whatever he carries the government of the day. He needs to be able to balance between what he's doing. So I think there's a lack of a balance in the whole issue. And giving does not bring people close to God. Actually, it's like now in this case, most people feel like, why should I go to church? And it's like it's kind of dividing the church. So I think I need to be very careful in how we act as leaders, and of course politicians need to be careful on how they act due to the current status of things in this country. And another issue, I think, which maybe if you are like an add, is that since this regime took over, there has been promises on top of promises. I think that's where now the problem is. Because when you promise and you don't deliver, the Bible itself forbids us from promising what you cannot deliver. So I think that is where the challenge is. And the president needs to call himself to a meeting, and of course other leaders, politicians, and think about the people that they are leading and their feeling about the whole issue.
Okay. Thank you, Pastor. Andrew, let me come to you. I mean, we know that Jesus Winner Ministry in Nairobi, that's a church, there was some protest, which, you were really following. It escalated to the point of arrests and clashes with police. I'm just wondering, how does a church that got 20 million Kenyan shillings from the president, how do members start protesting? What was that about?
It was because of the backlash that they are receiving online. It was because of the promises from young Kenyans, especially the Gen Z part of the society. They felt betrayed. And usually nowadays when Kenyans are angry about a topic, they say, we will occupy. We will occupy means they'll come to your personal space and picket and protest. So there were protests over the weekend on Sunday. And many were saying that the fact that people were willing to risk arrest by storming the church speaks volumes about the intensity of the opposition. So it's not just about the donation, it's about the perception that public resources might be misused, while ordinary citizens are struggling. So many Kenyans stand up and sort of stormed the church. It's so weird on a Sunday you're going to church and there's already a heavy police presence. So it got a little chaotic, and around 30 people were arrested.
Right, and some say some of those involved in the protest were even members of the church. It's not just random youth coming, but some members of the church did not agree with the whole thing. Is that right?
Indeed, because when I speak to many Kenyans, many people are frustrated because of the current government. They feel that President William Ruto, who is the captain of this ship, is not steering the country in the right direction. That is just their opinion. So for you involving my church in your politics, I feel offended as a congregant, as a member of this church. And I'll stand out and picket and say, you did not do the right thing, bishop or pastor. You did not do the right thing in accepting the donation from President Ruto. Why? Because it's the same President Ruto that I am angry about because of this, that, or,
Right. So, I mean, we know what Pastor Kaburu thinks of all of this, but Andrew, you've also been hearing from other religious leaders in Kenya. How have they publicly addressed this ongoing controversy?
Yeah, many religious leaders have been called to TV debates, radio debates. So from what I've been following, some religious leaders have addressed the controversy, but their responses have been mixed, So a section of the clergy has defended Ruto. Some are saying his donations are noble, like Pastor Kaburu said. The donations are going to the church. It's like you, Mr. Eddie, going to church and, donating what you can. But others have voiced concerns because of transparency. They are questioning whether political money should have such a heavy presence in churches. So I would say they are mixed, and most of them are against it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pastor Kaburu. Members, church leaders over the weekend, I think, they came together. Now, lots and lots of pastors are asking the government for unpaid dues. There's money, there's some money that is being owed to churches and all that. You see, now it has got a ripple effect. Now everybody wants money. And everybody is saying, if you're giving 20 million, he's giving 20 million to that church, and he has promised over 100 million to the same church. If I'm a pastor on the other side, I will also feel terrible because I also need the donations. Their families we are supporting, their communities we are supporting. So it has just torn the clergy.
Yeah.
Right.
Pastor Kaburu, I mean, is this the first time this is happening? Is this the first time a politician or a Kenyan president is making donations to a church? And, historically, how has the relationship, between church and state influenced governance and public trust in Kenya?
Yeah, this is not the first time it is happening. It has been there since the days of the second president, that is President Moi. President Moi was one of the presidents who interacted so much with the church and was used to give a lot of land, money, and building schools and stuff like that. It's not the first time, but you see now the difference between then and now is the mismanagement of the government that we have at the moment. And that is what is causing the whole noise and causing there to be like a division between the church, whatever church leaders. But again, on the same beat, you've seen other pastors currently who have openly told the president, thank you, we are okay, we don't need any support, we don't need any money. So it's like Andrew is saying, it's a mixture of reactions from the clergy. Some feel there's need to be given the money, others feel it has a connection between it has a hook to it. And in adding to what Andrew is saying, again, remember there are many churches in Kenya that run hospitals and schools. And some of these hospitals, which are run by churches, we realize that Kenyans cannot access medical care through the current SHA thing, which is supposed to be now offering healthcare across. And these churches have not been paid from the previous National Health Fund, NHIF, which was there previously. So these churches also, which run hospitals, are demanding their dues to be paid. And due to that, now when they see like extravagant use of money and misuse of resources, that is where now we have a challenge. So, but from time immemorial, the church and the state have been working closely. But again, the responsibility of the church, again, to monitor the government. Even years during Moi's time, we used to have very bold pastors who stood and told the president it is wrong. They stood and told the king you are naked. Some of them were beaten and stuff like that. So it's not the first time it is happening. And even in the history of the Bible, you'll find that in any government of the Bible, especially you read the book of Kings and the book of 1st and 2nd Samuel, there used to be prophets who stood by what is right, and there are others who sided with what is wrong with the government of the day. So it's not a new thing that is happening. There are some who receive donations, even in the Bible, from kings to favor them or to prophesy in their favor. These things have been happening actually. So that now this time around, we have a new generation which feels we have to change the way things have been working. But I can assure you, this is not coming to an end anytime soon. It will be there because it has been there from time immemorial. All the same, now it's time for the church or the clergy, those who want to serve God in the right way, to stand and serve Him, right? Those who want to be contaminated by politics of the day, they continue being polluted because it's in there. So I think that's what I can say.
I think this pushes me to ask this question. I mean, given the recent protests and public outcry over these donations, what steps can religious institutions take to maintain their integrity and independence while engaging with political leaders, if they should engage with them at all?
That's a very good question. Actually, now, we normally have church bodies. Like, for example, we have the national, it's called NCCK, National Council of Churches. We have another interreligious council, which now brings in the Muslim community and the church, the Christian community together, churches together. These bodies are normally they are regulated. There are rules and regulations that normally govern them when it comes to how to do the government and the integrity. But sadly, some of the preachers who are quick to receive these donations are not part and parcel of those bodies. Again, you cannot force someone to join a union, so to speak, or to join a group whereby you regulate your issues. So some of them, because independently they run their own things, so they can't be under these bodies which regulate what happens. That is why we have a problem. But over and above, we've been having these bodies running for a long time, regulating what happens. That is why you see not every church is receiving donations, not every church is condoning what is happening. There are a few elements here and there, but I can assure you these elements will always be there. But church, to be clean, you will not have everyone on the right side of life. You will have a few elements here and there who will want to do what they think they need to do, or independently do what they want to do. They don't want to be regulated or to be under any control of any sort, but they want to be free to do whatever they want to. I think that's where we have a challenge.
Right. Thank you very much, Pastor. Andrew, you would have the last words. I mean, looking ahead, I just wonder how this current controversy, and there's been quite a number of controversies under President William Ruto. How could this, impact his relationship with both religious institutions and the general public? I mean, how could it hit his, political situation now?
I feel like if he continues down this path, he definitely risks alienating sections of the population who are viewing his actions as excessive, those who are protesting over the weekend, or sort of politically motivated. However, that said, I also would want to add that if he successfully maintains the loyalty of these religious leaders who he is targeting, he could definitely solidify a strong base of support ahead of future political battles.
Right. Thank you, Andrew. And I guess the old debate continues, the relationship between church and state. How intertwined should they be? Should they even be connected in any way? To what extent is it okay to do so? And I don't think we're going to end or find an answer to that debate today, but we are contributing definitely to that debate. Thank you very much, Pastor Dan Kaburu from Life Mission Christian Church in Nairobi, Kenya. And also many thanks, Andrew Wasike, our correspondent in Kenya, for your contribution.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
The issue of blurred lines between the church and the state is not just known to Kenya. This week, Rwanda released stricter guidelines under which Pentecostal churches will operate. Under the new directives, all financial transactions of churches, including tithes, will be conducted through banks or other financial institutions accredited in Rwanda. In addition, a church must have at least 1,000 verifiable and registered worshippers with their IDs and signatures, and its leaders or representatives must hold a theology degree or its equivalent from a recognized institution. So what do you make of these measures? Please share your thoughts with us on our Facebook page, DW Africa. Listen to us on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast from. And don't forget to click follow and subscribe to our DW Africa YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. This show was co-produced and edited by Josie Mahachi. And I am Eddie Micah Jr. Thanks for listening.
DW News.